Now, did you have any exposure to any other religions, anything else that you looked into? Can you talk about this briefly?
Well, I was born in a Christian household. You know, my grandmother, she sung in the United Negro College Fund Choir for about 40 years. I used to spend maybe 6, 7 days a week in the church. And, you know, I was heavily active in, you know, in Christian activity, you know, saying Bible studies. I played the piano. I played the bells. I was an usher. I did everything that you could possibly do in the infrastructure of, you know, the Baptist church. And, you know, I just started to notice a lot of, you know, inconsistencies, you know. People who say they're of God doing things that are not of God. And it's not that, you know, because even in Islam, you're not supposed to judge the Muslim, you know, judge Islam by the Muslim.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I was judging the Christian by, you know, but the reality of it was so repetitive, the inconsistencies and how things were practiced and how things were done. And I really started to ask questions, you know, because you have people that, you know, believe that Jesus is God. And I used to ask myself as a child, how is Jesus God if he prays? Who's he praying to? And it's just certain little questions that I wanted answers for that I couldn't find within the infrastructure.
It's a good question. Who was he praying to? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Like these are like common sense questions. These are not something that really take rocket science.
Yeah.
And you know, and even like with Adam and Eve, I'm like, how are we held accountable for the sins of like the first, you know, man and woman created? Like, how am I, like, why am I to blame? I never met Adam. I never met Eve. Why would I be held accountable? That would make God unjust. You know, when we know that God is so merciful and God is the most just. So these are just little questions that I kept, you know, wanting answers for, and I couldn't find it within the infrastructure. It was always like a brush off, a shutdown, and it's like, you know, if I can't find the answers, you know, in the faith that I'm practicing, maybe I need to outsource, you know. And I found myself searching, not really looking for Islam, but, you know, I love my family, you know, they still, you know, have, you know, they still definitely practice Christian faith, and it hasn't changed my relationship with none of the people that I love. But the reality is I found something for me. And the piece that I found, I try to share. You know, I'm very patient with the people I love. And, you know, Islam is not something that you force upon somebody, because it wasn't forced on me. I was fortunate to find Islam without no dawah. No one sat down and talked to me about Islam. So I know that I was guided here purely by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. I found Islam, you know, and, you know, coming out of the Christian life was definitely a big transition. But the reality of it is, it wasn't that much of a transition, because there are a lot of things that will lead you to an understanding of Islam, and back Islam clarifying a lot of things that I needed to know about Christianity. So, you know, in a nutshell, you just, you know, you go where it gives you more. And I found more in Islam.
You found all the rational, logical evidence. Everything, your questions were answered, clear proofs.
Clear.
No ambiguity. Everything is straightforward.
Everything clear.
What your purpose of life is.
Clear.
What happens when you die.
Clear.
Where you're going.
Clear.
Everything is lucid.
Check.
Check.
You know what I'm saying?
Tell us now. People want to know, like, okay, you're hanging out with P. Diddy and some of the other rappers. Party is over. Lights are on. Did you ever have one of these conversations like, you know what? This is getting played out, man.
Very much
We've had
so.
everything.
Very much so.
Talk to us.
Very much so. I would say, you know, you find yourself, and like in my case, you know, being that I targeted the females as an audience. And at the time, you know, I have a lot of women in my family, so I have a lot of respect for women. So the most righteous effort that I found myself trying to achieve was not glorifying the harsh realities that, you know, plagued me in my neighborhood. I'm born and raised in Harlem, and it's like, I didn't elaborate on those things. I chose to exercise a more brighter side of myself, and that was like, you know, talking about things that revolve around relationships with females and basically the desires of most men at the time when I was in my state of ignorance, you know, trying to find a girl, trying to find, you know, companionship and things of this nature, without the whole slander and vulgar stuff that, you know, are drawn towards women. So at the time, that was like my most righteous attempt. But what happened is, I started to get women that would submit to my success. And after a while, I found myself losing the respect that I have for all the women in my life and all the women in my family, based on the way how women would submit themselves. You know, this is not, you know, someone that's saying you need to talk to my father first or come meet the family. These are women that are just skipping A, B, and going straight to C. So I'm like, wow, is this what comes with this? Because it was a time I was really searching for a girl. I really wanted companionship. And what I found was just an obsession with my success.
Is that where the song came in, I Need a Girl?
Well, actually, it stemmed from, you know what I'm saying, just having that experience of searching for a girl. But at the time, Puff had a serious breakup with Jennifer Lopez. And it all just kind of tied in. It was something that was, you know, happening in his life currently and something that happened in my life before. We put our heads together and we came up with the concept of, let's just flat out get it off our chest. We need a girl.
Now you can sing something like possibly I Need a Wife. You know, for the brothers,
Exactly.
when you get them married, because Islam obviously encourages this to be with a woman, but the way that is pleasing to the Creator in marriage.
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. I was getting to the point where it's like the females, you start to realize, hey, after, you know, everything is said and done, you're trying to find the most polite way to remove this, you know, sister out of your life. Because what's done is done, and you know everything is cool. But at that point, you start to realize, listen, this is someone's sister, this is someone's daughter, this is someone's mother. So, like you said, marriage is very important. It's something that alleviates all these desires.
What advice do you have? Because we know a lot of people that, like you said earlier, Islam is clear, all the evidence is there, but the desire of wanting success, what we supposedly look at success like the lifestyle that you were living, people paint that as, okay, that's the ultimate success. And people now will have those moments that they dig deep down inside and they know, look, I'm not happy, but they get caught up with the cars, they get caught up with the money, and everyone is going through this. How do you break through that and not submit to your desires, but submit to the one?
Exactly. I would say find success in Allah. But the reality of it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has replaced everything that was in my life that was haram and gave me things that are halal. For instance, my phone used to ring a lot. Nothing but haram. Nothing but issues that dealt with haram.
Tell us, we have a lot of non-Muslims watching. You said a couple Arabic words. So they don't have to take an Arabic class.
Haram, prohibited.
Prohibited,
meaning,
actually.
Yeah, meaning no good. You know what I'm saying? Not allowed. And halal, meaning permissible. Meaning that it is allowed. I've been embraced by a brotherhood that surpasses any like temporary relationship I might have had with anybody that was in the business with me or anybody that I grew up with in the street. You know, and not to discredit any of my relationships, but the reality of it is Allah has removed a lot of these things that caused me harm and placed me in harm and danger, and now I just live a very free, peaceful life, and I wouldn't give this up for nothing in the world.
No money can buy what you have now.
No money can buy.
Peace and contentment.
Like I said, the cure is free. You're paying for the disease.
Tell us, have you gotten a chance to interact with some of the people from Bad Boy Records, Puff Daddy? Have they said, what happened, brother? Have you got a chance to share this wonderful story of yours with them?
I bumped into Puff a couple months ago, Busta Rhymes, who's also a Muslim, Raekwon, who's also a Muslim. And it seemed like a reunion because everyone was there. Jay-Z, Q-Tip, Puff. It just seemed like a reunion. But it was so funny because I stood there for a while. Nobody noticed me because I had grew my beard out. And, you know, I'm just standing in the cut. But when I met Puff, you know, we laugh and chuckle. We have a brotherhood that's still, you know what I'm saying, we have a relationship that's still there, you know what I'm saying. We've done a lot of things together. And I think he was very receptive to what I was, you know, upon. And at the same token, it's always a pleasure to see him. And there's always, you know, a benefit to be around him because, like I said, he's an icon. He's a major influence on a lot of people. And then when the time is right, Allah knows best, you know what I'm saying? Inshallah, I will be able to, you know, consult him in an environment that's suitable. And maybe one day, inshallah, you never know, Puff Daddy might become a Muslim.
What advice, closing comments, and suggestions for those who are trying to mimic the hip-hop phenomenons and people who are in your position? What advice so they don't go ahead and touch the hot stove? You know how you tell a child, you know, the stove is hot and they just got to go and hunt and burn so they don't have to go and take a long journey because death can reach you at any time. Definitely. And maybe you don't come back to where you were, you know, to finding that peace. What advice do you have?
My advice would be, you know, if you're trying to, you know, incorporate a love for music, just be mindful that there's a lifestyle that comes with the music that kind of like you know, destroys the whole positive effort of trying to just exercise a love for music. It kind of cancels out. You can't have one without the other. You do the music, you're going to indulge in the lifestyle that comes with the music. And the lifestyle itself is definitely something that you don't want to get involved with, because it draws the guts out you. It draws everything that's pure inside you. And it's just something that, you know, removes the peace of mind that you might have had before you came into business. Some people feel like these desires are going to lead them somewhere, but the reality of it is, take my advice, you know, there's going to be a breaking point. There's going to be a point where you're going to find yourself overexerted, exhausted, overworked, and the benefits are not going to add up. So the reality of it is, you know, don't just take my advice, but try to take my advice. For real, it's serious.
Brother, thank you very much for being with us here on the Dean Show.
Man, pleasure being you. Man, Eddie, he's a good man.
Thank you, man.
Thank
Allah
you very much.
continue to bless you as He has,
Ameen.
by opening your heart and to this wonderful way of life. And I'd like to
Ameen.
thank you for being with us on another episode of the Dean Show. Every week we're here trying to help you understand this beautiful way of life.
Beautiful.
All the messengers of God, they submitted to the one God. Try to strive to live that good, wholesome life. Try to give birth what's already inside of you, that goodness. Bring it out. Ask for the guidance. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And the truth shall be made clear. Hopefully we'll see you next time here on the Dean Show. Until then, assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم